Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. It's finally arrived. Welcome to the World Championship weekend. It's day one today, an incredibly important one in terms of the context of the tournament. Massive games, Atlanta FaZe, New York Subliners, OpTic versus Ultra we'll dive into here in the coming minutes, but also Los Angeles Thieves, arguably the favourites for the tournament, saying they've got some sort of secret hardpoint strat which could well net them a massive advantage, but also that they are the best control team in the game bar none. Could these words come back to bite them? We'll see how things go tonight. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Really up to the channel. Thanks very much indeed for doing that. Well, no better time really. These are the OpTic guys getting ready to go. Just thought it was funny. I mean, he just has meme potential every single time I see him in anything. Also, pretty much last and final call now for you guys to sign up to Fancy if you want to get involved. First place, $500. I didn't bring my team up today because I've shown it many times over the previous days, but the link will be down below as always to get involved with that one. This is the apartment that Crim7 is in. It looks rather similar to Crimsix actually that we looked at the other day. So yeah, I guess this is a pretty standard hotel that the CDL have kind of rented out, or well, some of the teams have rented out for their teams to stay in. Boston, it seems, have a rather similar approach. Doug is kind of showing their champs room tour here. So yes, there are substitutes at the venue as well, just in case it is required. This, of course, is Doug for the Boston breach if needed. If anything happens, then Doug might have to step in for the team. He said yesterday that if he does have to, and he's playing Crimsix, Clayster, or Scump, he won't be playing Clay unless Clay is somehow subbing in for New York if something happens over there, because he's also at the venue for the Challengers World Championship. It's a bit of a mess. Doug reckons he'd come out on top in those situations, but it's unlikely to happen. We shall see though. Vanguard is Vanguard. Craziness can be certainly the case. Let's talk Subliners versus FaZe real quick. Arguably the biggest game of the night in terms of two teams right now that are probably top 3, top 4 teams in the game, depending on how you look at it. We'll see the power rankings potentially here in a second. But yeah, FaZe, of course, being the #1 seed the entire season long, pretty much. Like, they play New York round 1, far from an easy game for them. I would say FaZe are probably marginal favourites, right? But the thing is, everyone has known for 2 weeks at this point pretty much who their opponents are, so they can prepare very in-depth indeed for all the game modes. Search and Destroy especially is probably the easiest one to prepare for, but they can come up with many new ideas. So it's always going to be exciting, these first round games, because these teams will be incredibly well prepared for their opponents, and we could see a lot of counter-stratting and ideas like that. And I think New York are a team that should be on top of that stuff, but then FaZe are in the same boat with all the coaching stuff that they have behind the scenes. So tough game to call. I'd probably just say FaZe are marginal favourites here. Subliners, I'm not exactly sure how well their practice has been going. Paul X, we talked about the injury that he might have had that I think now is okay, but we'll see how it goes. And then of course I think he was in Cali for the last few weeks anyway, in Los Angeles, so maybe not practicing in person could hold them back a little bit, but I'm hoping that New York can complete their kind of like most unbelievable run in Call of Duty history. After making the Call of Duty World Championship in the most remarkable of fashions, they do a no pressure documentary on that one that came out last night. If they were to win champs, then it would be the craziest storyline arguably in CoD history. But I mean, look, they're still one of the favourites up there to make it happen, but tonight is a crucial game up against Atlanta FaZe. Probably the one I'm most excited about in the first round. Another massive one as well is OpTic versus Toronto. This another game that, well look, last time they played at Major 4, it was a Game 5 round 11 affair where OpTic managed to clutch outright. But it was a crazy series. There were some throws either way. I think Toronto will probably look back on that series thinking they probably could have, should have won that series or whatever they're thinking, but of course look, they failed to get the job done there. This is their chance. Another team with an immense coaching staff behind them, so I imagine they've prepared very nicely indeed. The OpTic guys, we imagine, are in a similar position and probably on their day, especially this year so far, do have a little bit more in the tank. So I would say FaZe and OpTic are marginal favourites for those two series, but it's very difficult to call. But the entire season always comes down to this, and I don't know if there's ever been a team that's won the World Championship with losing winners round 1. I think there's been teams that have made it to grand finals, maybe Envy and Ghosts I think made a run like that, and also of course 100 Thieves back in Black Ops 4, teams that went down to losers round 1 and made the comeback all the way through the tournament in the losers bracket to the grand finals. But I don't think a team that's ever lost in the first round has ever won the entire tournament. Like, of course that could change this year, right? But still, you've realistically got to win the first round. iLLeY seems ready to go. He says whatever it takes. Not too many tweets the last few days from the OpTic guys. They seem pretty locked in. Apparently iLLeY's incredibly locked in as well, so we'll see if that works out from the right. But yeah, tonight is obviously a massive game for all the teams. Now arguably the easiest first round matchup comes for the Los Angeles Thieves as the number 3 seed. They play Boston in the first round. Of course look, it's Vanguard, you can never predict anything 100% guaranteed, but they should be massive favourites for this match. Envoy, Drazah, they're getting ready to go as well, and even as Octane says, can't wait to play this weekend, the first champs for him in 2 years. That's the thing for many players. Octane of course is actually at this year's World Championship, but last year he was on the Seattle Surge. They failed to qualify. I don't think he would have qualified back in Modern Warfare, but they changed the rules in Modern Warfare. They were only going to allow 8 teams to attend, but because it was going to have to be done online, they were like, look, let's just let all 12 teams go, because it's a bit bit of a mess of a season. Online, LAN, and like, of course, the servers weren't particularly good as well. So they said in Modern Warfare, everyone can come along. Still, Surge were pretty terrible, as they were last year, and failed to even qualify. This year, Octane's actually going to be there, right? But there are some very notable players, Gunless, for example, that haven't been at the World Championship now for many years in a row. Now, the Los Angeles Thieves guys do a pre-show last night to kind of prepare themselves, or well, at least talk about their preparation going into champs, how they're feeling, who their dark horses are. We'll talk about their dark horse here in a second and how they might potentially do in this tournament as probably the team outside of the top 4 favourites that has the best chance of actually making a run at this tourney if they hit their form. But the Thieves guys were also talking about their preparation for this event, saying that in hardpoints, they seem to discover new things every day. Octane reckons their teamwork is at an absolute all-time high. They've never felt more confident in their team play than they do at the present time. They've discovered new things about hardpoint, and Shane had some idea in hardpoint that he reckoned would net them a 360. The first time they tried it, that's exactly what happened. So that's going to be exciting to look at, because look, teams are going to be bringing out all sorts of stuff this weekend. There's going to be jump spots, like new line of sight, wallbang spots, I don't know, that teams have been saving for a couple of months now at this point to just pull out of the World Championship. Thieves maybe have some more ideas in terms of some of the respawn game modes as to setups they can try, and also Envoy saying that in Control, they are by far the best team in the game at that mode right now, which of course was the case with OpTic when they were the best team.
It feels like everything's going right for you guys, and you kind of have this swag that you didn't have. Like when I was doing this in the beginning, I would have thought y'all were like down. I mean, y'all were down horrendously.
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's pretty bad.
Like I would pull up and they would just be like, "Man, I don't want to do this, man. Talk about our issues." And now you guys are like,
I mean,
"What a bet."
It changed a bit, yeah. But
was it just getting the win?
I mean, you've won before, you know, like
Multiple times.
Yeah.
Decorated.
My bad.
It's like, granted, before we win, we were starting to get there, but like once you win and you know that the concepts that you've been working on are like actual good concepts, you kind of just hit the flow state, and then you just like everything just starts going, bro.
Nothing is better.
You're more certain on like everything.
Every decision you feel like is the right play. There's no second guessing like on the map ever, and that's when like your teamwork starts to hit like an all-time high. I think that's where we are.
That's the best feeling, when like you see whatever you work on in practice actually pays off.
Yeah. Wow. That was a full 60 right there. That's kind of nice.
Yo, it was that easy.
I'm not gonna expose. We went over a concept on a map in Scrims like 2 or 3 days ago. The first time we tried it, full 60, we're like,
What month is it? It took us this long?
And game's always evolving, bro.
You got Cap in the background like, yo, I told y'all to do this.
Bro, no, Shane was bugging about this for like 3 days, bro. He's like, I swear I'm not wrong. I swear.
Like, is there anything that you're focusing on? If you don't want to say, obviously, I get it.
I just think just like Major 4, I mean,
just make sure you
S&D,
get your kills.
like we're by far the best control team right now. So I've always been on top of this, like since Control's been in. If you win the Control, bro, obviously, like you need that to like
you win the
reverse
series.
sweep. But that's like a huge turning point, bro. Like it's round by round. Like it's a grueler. It's a grueler game mode. And then S&D, bro. Like any team that's won any of the events has like turned up an S&D to some point or like had like a positive record. So
what did you guys go in S&D at Major 4?
We did pretty good, I think.
Like, it was definitely above 500.
I think we
got 4 and 3, and all 3 were in New York.
So Thieves are obviously coming in here incredibly confident indeed. This is their kind of, thanks to IU Turtle for these graphics, the entire season so far where they stand, right? And obviously their loss streak and other things aren't particularly good. Like in Search and Destroy, their stats aren't great either. But this, of course, is over the entire season. When you look very recently, they, of course, made a massive run. All their game modes looked incredibly good. Every player, I believe, on Thieves had a positive KD in all 3 game modes at Major 4, which is quite the statistic. And even Envoy was saying earlier on in that episode, like, look, in squad spawns games, just killing and slaying hard is pretty much what is required. You can't always do that. It's difficult to maintain a consistent favourite, but they reckon if their control is the best, and their control probably, at least according to the numbers, has been their best game mode so far this season anyway, and then add on to that what they did in that game mode at Major 4, they're feeling incredibly confident, right? That was kind of the key aspect of OpTic's dominance earlier on this season, when they just would not lose the control, right? Tuscan, Kavutu didn't matter. OpTic weren't losing control. They won like 13 or 14 of them in a row or something throughout that Major 1 run and also Major 2 qualifiers. And now Thieves, they believe they're at that level as well. Now they also apparently have some new ideas in the hardpoints, which are going to be exciting to see. And if they can maintain their level in Search and Destroy, where they were pretty solid back at Major 4, then I still think Thieves are probably the favourites for this tournament. They won the last one 2 weekends ago. You've probably got to favourite Thieves just about out to get the job done on the back-to-back. They have done it before when they were 100 Thieves back in the day. These are OpTic's numbers just out of interest if you guys want to have a look. They're the second best series win count, the longest win streak this season. They're actually the #1 map count and also longest map win streak as well. So kind of interesting really the fact that their map count this season is just so good, right? 90 and 55 is absurdly good. It's actually quite significantly better than FaZe. They were, I'm pretty sure it was like the Major 2 qualifiers where they went like 15 in 3 or 15 in 2 map counts. Like they were just demolishing everyone at the time. Since then it hasn't quite been the case, right? Their control is still 26 and 11, 14 wins in a row on that one, which of course is a CDL record, kind of remarkably. But I think at some point they were like 20 and 2 or 21 and 2 or something in control, and since then it's not been looking particularly strong. Their game 5 record as well, 5 and 6, that's only 8 in the league. So their game 5s are far from a guarantee. Their round 11 record as well, 8 and 7. Definitely 2 things that could come into consideration tonight when they play up against the Toronto Ultra. But yes, Thieves, are they favourites in your guys' eyes? That's certainly a big question, but they seem to have some ideas up their sleeve ready to go. The OpTic van as well was spotted here by JP Krez. The car bomb for Big T. Nadeshot is there. Nadeshot is there, if you guys remember that one from back in the day. But yeah, the OpTic van does now officially exist. But these are the power rankings that Nameless came up with going into this tournament. I think, honestly, I very much agree with at least 8 through 5. I think they're very clear cut, to be honest. I would say that London and Boston are the least 2 favourites for the tournament. Then I would say Toronto in 6th. Then Seattle a 5th. And Seattle, to me, with OpTic, are the biggest wildcard of this event. Seattle went from a 9 winning streak to a 5 loss streak from their Major 3 triumph through to Major 4. And we know that when Seattle turn up, they do have an incredibly high ceiling. I do think they have the highest ceiling outside of the top 4 teams here. So Seattle, to me, are the dark horse run potential. They start with London in the first round. If they win that, they play either FaZe or New York. A winnable series for Seattle, given their history against those teams so far this season. So I can see a Seattle top 3 run here happening. There's surely got to be some sort of exciting runs and upsets and stuff that happen this tournament. Toronto can do it, but I think they're going to have to win a lot of game 5s if they want to make a run. And then the top 4 to me are relatively clear cut. Thieves, FaZe, that's obvious #1, #2, I think. Some people might switch those around, but I've got to give it to Thieves just about being the favourites here because they won the last tourney. Then OpTic and New York. It's tough to say to me which team would be favoured out of those two. In my rankings, I might have New York 3rd and OpTic 4th, but I don't really think it matters too much because OpTic, they can either perform at a level where they're not going to win this tourney, or they can, turn up big time and have the potential to beat anyone, right? So it's kind of difficult to say where they're going to be. OpTic admittedly do have a hard bracket. If they beat Toronto, they will play the winner of Thieves and Boston in the next round, probably Thieves. And if they were to lose to Thieves, let's say, they probably play New York in the losers bracket or FaZe. So they're probably going to have to beat OpTic 2 of the top 4 teams if they want to get any further than top 6. But let's talk about the bracket then and the matches for today. So this is the entire weekend. These are the 4 games of today. Then another 4 games on Friday, 5 games on Saturday for just the Championship Sunday Grand Final on August the 7th. There we go. This is actually Prime Gaming sponsored again. Kind of interesting just because the whole Twitch thing we think might happen next season. But these are the 4 games. London, Surge. To me, Surge probably the rather significant favourites in this series on LAN. We know that London don't usually do so well in that environment. London could certainly win, but I'm going to take Seattle probably in a 3-1. Then Thieves, Boston. Honestly, I think this might be somewhat clear-cut. Thieves are a better team in all the modes right now. Honestly, I might just go for a hot 3-0 in this one. Then OpTic versus Toronto. Man, this is a super tough series to call. If it goes game 5, I think I'll probably favour Toronto this time to somehow learn from their mistakes and get the job done. But I think that I should just lean OpTic's way because I think they have a little bit more just raw potential in this squad than Toronto do. So I think I'm going to take OpTic 3-1 in this one and then FaZe New York. This is an absolute banger series, of course, to finish out the day. I reckon FaZe 3-2. I think New York are going to put up a fight, but I've not really seen so much still from New York in terms of the search and destroyers against the top teams to think that if they do go game 5 here, that they'll actually be able to beat FaZe. So I'm going to take Surge, Thieves, OpTic, and FaZe as my day 1 picks. But realistically, anything could happen. It's Call of Duty Vanguard, baby. Very much into your thoughts and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new as always. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.